RVing gets pitched as a cheaper, simpler way of living and a way to escape the rat race. But if you're new to this, you may not have realized yet that all of that freedom and adventure can come with an unexpectedly hefty price tag. So here are 7 of the less sexy hidden costs to RVing that people don't always talk about. If you don't know me, hi, hello, my name is Emily. I'm a certified RV repair tech, and this is RV Repair Woman. Number 1, right up off the top, fuel. Especially right now. Holy cow. Fuel is one of the biggest expenses when it comes to RVing. At the time of filming this video right now, and I know this is really in flux, the national average for a gallon of gas is $4.05. And specifically here in Vegas, we are getting close to almost $5 a gallon. With big class A's, usually only getting between 6 to 10 miles per gallon. Those miles can add up really quick. Right now, if you were to fill up your tank in Vegas and drive the roughly 2-hour drive to the Grand Canyon, it's probably going to cost you around $100 just to get from here to there, and then another $100 to get back, especially once you factor in just how hilly it is here around Vegas. And that is before we make any pit stops to pee or stretch or enjoy ourselves along the way. My biggest tip to help bring down fuel costs is to try to cut as much weight as you can from your RV. And the easiest mistake that I have seen multiple people out there make is not driving with your fresh water tank full of water. Water heavier than you think, you're usually looking about 8 pounds per gallon. Fresh water tanks usually sit a little over 40 gallons. And so if your fresh water tank is full, that is an additional 300 plus pounds that you have added to your RV. And the general rule of thumb is for every 100 pounds you add to your vehicle, you're losing about 1% of your fuel efficiency. So just take a quick look over your RV, see if there's anything heavy that's been hanging out in there for a long time that you thought you needed and realized you don't use all the time. Go ahead and pitch it. It's just weighing you down and costing you at the fuel pump. Got a husband that's not pulling his weight? Ditch him. I'm just kidding. I'm sure your significant others are wonderful. But maybe instead of ditching our husbands, let's not drive around with a full fresh water tank. Just go ahead and keep that bad boy empty until you're really close or at the camping spot you're going to use for the night. Fill up there, and then once you're done, empty the tank before you go off driving again. It's going to save you a bunch of money in the long run. Another tip, if you're able-bodied and in a motorhome, consider getting a bicycle. That way, once you are at your camping spot, you can just bike to any of the closer by local attractions or even just to the grocery store if you need to. Get a cute basket to put on the front of the bike. The vibes are immaculate, and it means you can just go do your quick grocery store run without having to pack up your entire RV and pay for all of that gas just to go get your groceries for the day. Expense number 2, maintenance and repairs. The channel is called RV Repair Woman, so you had to see this coming. The appeal of RVing is you get all of the joy of living in a house with all of the freedom that comes with living in a car, and you combine them together. Unfortunately, this means you also have all of the expenses, maintenance, and repairs that come with living in a house and with owning a car combined into one. And it's not like this is the greatest house and greatest car ever made. This is a completely overloaded car and a house that's getting put through an earthquake all the time. Things are gonna break. The best way to prevent big repair bills is to do a little bit of maintenance in your RV throughout the year. If you would like any help with that, I have a link in the description to my free RV maintenance guide that's going to walk you through step by step how to do all of those little maintenance things that they don't tell you about when you buy your RV. And right at the top of the guide is a checklist that you can print out, put on your fridge to help keep track of what you've done throughout the year, so that way nothing gets missed. If you think that'd be helpful for you, links in the description. You got this. Another thing to keep in mind, this isn't necessarily a cost-saving thing, but just something to keep in your budget so you can hopefully avoid getting any scary extra loads on your wallet. The big box RV store near me is charging around $500 for a single call. So anything in your RV stops working, you call and they send out a tech, you're looking at around $500. That can definitely vary from place to place, but that's just something to keep in mind. Just in general, if you can, budget that you're going to have at least one thing go wrong in your RV every year. Just take that $500, put it aside in a bank account, don't touch it for the entire 365 days of the year. And if you somehow get to Christmas and end up not having to call a tech once throughout the entire year, congratulations. Go use that money to get something nice for that significant other that's totally pulling their weight and worth the extra pounds in your RV. But you would so much rather just have that $500 just sitting there in case of emergencies than get hit with that $500 and not be expecting or ready for it. Number 3, campground fees. While there are certainly opportunities for free camping in certain areas, unless you are really set up for boondocking, you are most likely going to end up at an RV camping spot most of the time you're in your RV. And you're probably going to be looking for a spot with full hookups. Campground fees can vary drastically from place to place, and it really tends to come down to like what amenities are available. Like, are you just looking for a parking spot with some electricity for the night? Or are you hoping for like a spa-like experience with pools you can go visit and an available massage? Even the most budget campground amenities are usually looking between $15 to $40 a night as like a general rule of thumb. And it's definitely on the low end. The biggest RV park in Vegas here is called Oasis. And if you want to stay there on a weekend, you're looking at least $90 a night, and it will go up from there depending on what you want the spot to look like. If you are looking to be a full-time RVer and stay in camping spots, let's say even 80% of the time, even at the low end, you're looking at around $365 per month or $4,380 a year. Just in campground fees. Now, that is way cheaper than any mortgage payment or rent payment I've ever made, but it definitely still is a far cry from like the free RV living that often gets promoted here on YouTube. My tip here, if you're like really looking to cut costs, is to look into boondocking when you can. So boondocking, if you don't know, is when you're in your RV without hookups. So usually without electricity is the big one. So here are all of the things that will not work in your RV if you are not plugged into shore power. And if you can live without any of these things for a night, then you can boondock that night. And it means you can stay either at a cheaper camping spot or just like out in the wilderness, if you will, or just like on some public land for free sometimes. So just something to look into if you're willing to lean more towards the camping side of things, even for just a night here or there, you could save yourself some moolah in the long run. Number 4, insurance. Just like any other vehicle, RVs require insurance. But because your RV is also a home or a place you can stay, there's some extra insurance on top of that. The insurance on RVs can be surprisingly expensive sometimes. But especially if you are living in this thing, that is not something you want to skimp on. I can't and I won't go too in the weeds on insurance specifics because I'm an RV repair tech, not an insurance salesman. But let's just keep in mind that especially if you're living in your RV, you are insuring both your vehicle and your house at the same time. And so you want to make sure that you're covered for that. And low key, just between you and me, my boyfriend used to work as an estimator in the auto insurance industry. So basically when you got in a crash, he would be the one that would communicate with your insurance to try to get them to pay to fix whatever was wrong with your vehicle. His biggest tip for people, and something he's constantly repeating to our friends, is to please actually read your insurance policy. It's super easy to just compare and contrast prices and not look and see what you're actually getting coverage for. And when he did work in that industry, it was almost a daily basis that somebody would come in and think they were covered for something they were not. So please read the actual insurance policy. Please, just actually read it. It's not fun. It's a boring afternoon to like compare and contrast them all. If you have someone that works in the industry, holy cow, is that super helpful. But like actually know what you're covered for. Don't just assume. Number 5, food and supplies. While living in an RV can save you on rent and mortgage payments, it can often cost extra in the food department in some really sneaky ways. The biggest factor being that RV fridges and pantries are often significantly smaller than you would see in a traditional sticks and bricks house. And this can make it difficult to keep enough food in the RV to feed everyone every day. There isn't enough space sometimes. It can also make it difficult to take advantage of deals and sales when they come up because you don't have room to buy things in bulk. This can lead to a lot of RVers eating out more often than they had expected when they first got into this whole lifestyle. And eating out adds up so fast. My favorite tip to help prevent this is to utilize a vacuum sealer. This is actually a tip from my mom. So shout out to all the moms out there being amazing. My mom uses the vacuum sealer specifically for meats. Whenever they buy meats, my parents will take it out of the original packaging and then usually vacuum seal it in a vacuum seal bag. This not only means that they can maximize the space in their fridge/freezer, but also, if you throw in some seasonings and maybe a little marinade into that bag before you seal it up, it means that your meats are already seasoned and yummy and ready to go right as you pull them out of the fridge. You just take it right out of the fridge or the freezer, smack it on the grill, and have a delicious meat-based dish for dinner that night. It's going to be a little extra yummy because it's been sitting in all that seasoned goodness for a little while. But go out, give that a try. Let me know if it works for you. Another big cost when it comes to food in RVs is having your fridge fail or not keep temp and having all of the food in your fridge go bad. Basically, every RVer that I know that has been doing this for a while has had this happen to them at least once. I've said these tips before on this channel, so I'll go rapid fire through them. But your fridge in an RV, if it's an absorption style fridge, which means any fridge that has both a gas and an electric setting, that fridge was designed to work optimally when it is 75 degrees outside, and the max temperature it was designed to work in is when it is 85 degrees outside. So now that it's the summer, oh my God, it is currently 97 degrees out. All the fridges here in Vegas that are in RVs are going to be struggling to get to temp. The ways that you can help your fridge out: add some extra fans in the back. You want these fans to be set up to suck air in at the bottom and push air out at the top. They make these little kits. It's like 2 wires. It's a super easy install. These fridges work off of airflow along the back of the fridge, so anything you can do to help them will help keep the fridge cool. I have seen people even put a box fan right at that back vent, just trying to shove as much air as possible into the back of their fridge. You can also get small battery-operated fans to put inside of the fridge to help increase airflow. And on top of that, putting fewer items in the fridge, that way more air can move in the compartment, is going to help a lot. And then finally, I have seen people get desktop ice makers that just sit on the desk in your kitchen and make ice, and they will sometimes take the ice from that, put it in a bag and throw it in their fridge to just help the fridge stay at temperature, just so it acts a lot like a cooler. These are just the tips I've seen people here in Vegas use. If you know any of your own, let me know in the comments. Number 6, storage fees. The reality of RV life is that it is relatively small, so a lot of RVers find themselves either getting a separate storage unit just for the things that they don't need all of the time, like storing their big bulky winter coats in the summer. Or if you're not a full-time RVer, you're going to have to look into storage for your RV. Does your RV need to be able to be plugged in while it's in storage? Do you need overhead coverage? How much security do you want? All of these things are going to add up to your storage fees. My biggest tip when it comes to looking at different RV storage spaces, if you live in a city, ask them when's the last time somebody broke in and just see if they're super cagey about answering. The reality is, if it's in a city, every RV storage place is going to have a break-in at some point, and just see if they'll give you a straight answer. If they're like, no, we've never had a break-in, they're most likely lying, and I just don't know what else they're lying about, and I would avoid that RV storage space. But that's just for us city dwellers. Like, I don't know if that's different in more rural areas. Just, wow, RV break-ins are a big thing here in Vegas. And then second, a Vegas storage tip, if you will, I highly recommend getting some overhead coverage. The UV rays here are just so hard on your roof. And I personally think the covered spot worth it for your RV, at least here in Vegas. And then our final big expense we're going to talk about today is entertainment and activities. While RVing can definitely be an adventure all into itself, it can be hard to like drive somewhere new and not take advantage of like every fun thing that's been there. From museum visits to theme park tickets, like it all adds up pretty quick. Powering through from one expensive thing to the next sounds super exciting. It burns you out so much faster than you would think. And I recommend just stopping for some of the smaller, freer attractions along the way. And always remember that having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. Even if you're a full-time RVer, you had to declare that you lived somewhere. And I bet that you qualify for getting a library card in that area that you say that you live. Look and see what other things your library offers, because it's way more than books. You can often also get, even streaming, like online, when you're away from the library, you can still get movies and TV shows. Some offer like online classes. Take advantage of those things, man. Libraries. A hill I will die on. They're amazing. In conclusion, RVing, awesome. It's what I built my whole brand, business, and life around. But it can get expensive real quick, and I just don't want people to be caught off guard. Plan for what you can, and just be ready to roll with the punches for the things you can't. In the meantime, the number one easiest way to prevent expensive RV repairs is to just do a little bit of maintenance throughout the year. And if you want to learn all of the quick and easy things you can do in and around your RV to save yourself a boatload by the end of the year, check out this video. And in the meantime, this has been RV Repairwoman. You got this.